everyone, it's Bree. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back in another video. I have not filmed a video in so long. Like, I can't remember the last time I actually sat down and like filmed a video. I think the last video that I just recently put up, I think I filmed that back in like April or May. It's been so long. I've had so much going on, but I want to get back into the swing of things, especially with the channel growing as fast as it is. I'm still in shock every single time I check my YouTube channel. Like, just seeing how it's growing every single day is just such an amazing blessing. And so I want to get back into consistently putting out content. I'm sure you guys have noticed that I've kind of been rebranding a little bit. And yeah, like I really want to, get back into the swing of things and being more consistent. And I think, there has been a part of me that's been kind of dealing with this like creator's block. Because, certain stories and certain topics pop up. But then I think, like, how can I turn this into like a full length video? But then I have to remind myself that not every video that I film has to be a whole essay. I don't have to constantly put out 20 to 30 minute long videos. I mean, I feel like people like shorter videos anyway. So I kind of want to start doing that more, just to kind of get myself to be more consistent and just take away that expectation that like every single video has to be like a full length thing. I can just film like a quick video here and there discussing my general feelings or opinions on a particular topic. And so with that being said, in this video, I actually wanted to talk about the recent passing of Angus Cloud. So for those of y'all who may or may not know, so Angus Cloud is an actor. He is most known for his role on Euphoria as Fez. And he was actually one of the more popular characters. A lot of people really enjoyed his character on the show. Even though I didn't watch Euphoria much, this story still kind of hit me in my feelings. And I think it's the same reason for a lot of these other celebrity deaths that happen. I've noticed that there's been a lot of celebrities passing away at a very young age. And I think that's the part that hit me. When I saw that he was only 25 years old, that hits me. It hit me in the same way that Cameron Boyce, his death had hit me. Not to say that the situations were similar at all, because they're not. But just the idea of people losing their lives so young. I feel like it's becoming more common recently. And yes, people pass away every single day. You're gonna have those, people who say that. But I feel like we've been seeing more and more, people that we know, and even sometimes people that we don't know. Like, I'll see news stories pop up on my Twitter, on my Instagram, of people who are literally in their early 20s or in their teens losing their lives. I mean, I've lost a few people that I went to high school with. Like, it's insane. And so when I saw that he had passed away so young, it really did hit me, because I'm just like, I'll be 24 this year, which I don't like to think about, because I just feel like, I know I'm not old, but I feel like I'm approaching my mid-20s and life is lifing. And and it also that too, right? Like, even with my birthday coming up, right, it's like, I'm starting to realize that life is short, and we are all getting older, and I'm seeing people around me and their lives and how their lives are progressing in comparison to mine. And I already feel a lot of pressure on myself to have certain things by a certain time, and it feels like the older that I get and the more time goes on, the less time I have for those things to happen. And again, seeing him lose his life at such a young age, it really puts things into perspective, because it's like, I'm about to be that age soon. Like, I'm literally going to be 25 next year. And there's so much that I want to do and that I want to accomplish literally by next year. And so, it really puts into perspective that, life is short, and, anything can happen to anyone. However, in this situation, and I also want to preface this by saying that nothing has been confirmed at all. People are kind of just putting together context clues. His family has spoken out about his recent passing, and they did mention in their statement that he actually just buried his father last week, I believe they said. And they did make mention that he had been having a really hard time coping with the loss of his father. And they also made mention of his consistent struggles with mental health. And so obviously, when you put two and two together, people can assume that he may have taken his own life because he was having a hard time grieving the loss of his father. And so there's multiple things to touch on with this, right? For one, grief. people process grief differently. Some people handle it better than others. But the loss of a parent is something that many people have spoken to, and is literally one of the hardest things that I feel like anybody goes through in their life, is losing a parent. And although I can't speak to that specifically, I have had my own experience with grief. My grandfather passed away. So I grew up without my father in the picture. And so my grandfather kind of took over that role of my father. So much so that I never really felt a void. I know that people tend to ask that or assume that, there was a void, or I felt like there was something missing with my father not being around. But honestly, I didn't have that void growing up, because my grandfather kind of took that place, and he took that role. And so I looked at him as a father figure. And so when he passed away, it did feel as though I was losing a parent. And I remember around that time that he had passed away, I didn't feel like I really got to grieve properly. I felt like I spent more time being a support system to everyone else, but I didn't really get a lot of that in return. And it's crazy because even as a little kid, I would always take on the responsibility of making sure that everybody else around me was okay, and kind of putting my feelings to the side. And it's crazy that even as a child, I'm like, okay, they have had, more years with this person, and so it's gonna affect them deeper. And so let me make sure that they're okay, and they're healing, and they're coping, and like I'll be okay. And like I just remember like being there, and I don't necessarily regret this either. It's just something that I'm realizing now as an adult, is that I spent a lot of time like making sure that everybody else was okay, consoling people. And mind you, these were like like consoling my mom, for instance, or consoling my uncle, or being there for my grandma, like being there for the adults in the situation, because it really wrecked them. I mean, the passing of my grandfather, it wrecked my immediate family. And I just wanted to be there. I just wanted to be there, and I wanted to make sure that they were okay, because I knew how much harder it was hitting for them. But I didn't really allow myself to grieve properly. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm putting blame on anybody, because again, it's grief. Like you're losing somebody. So I don't want to sit here and say like oh, well, they should have did more. But looking back, I do feel like maybe they weren't able to properly support me, and show me that care, because they were going through so much themselves. And I remember like even when I had finally went back to school after we had the funeral and everything, and that's when my emotions started to like hit. And I remember specifically like I was at lunch, and people were asking me like what happened, why wasn't I at school, and I was telling them about my grandfather passing away. And I remember I had broke down into tears at lunch, and none of the kids said anything. No one said anything. No one offered any encouraging words. Literally, people got up and walked away from the table when I started crying. And I mean, kids are kids, so I guess maybe they didn't know how to process that either, and they didn't know what to say in that moment. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's weird, right? And so, after he passed, right, every single holiday was hard. Every single holiday was difficult. Christmas, Thanksgiving, his birthday, my birthday, like every single major milestone that occurred after my grandpa's passing, it was hard, and the emotions would hit like it had just happened every single year. And it was like that for a while, because again, like I was about 8 or 9 years old when he had passed away. I didn't get to the point of like not crying on holidays in regards to his passing. I didn't get to that point until I was in high school. Literally, like it took me that long, from elementary school all the way up until high school, that I had finally got to a place where I could get to the holiday season and be okay and not cry about it. Because yeah, it's hard. That's why I my heart goes out to anybody that's dealing with grief, or any any sort of like major loss in their life, because it takes a lot out of you, and there's no time limit on healing from that, and how long it takes for you to get accustomed to life without that person, especially depending on how long that person was actively in your life. And I just, again, I can't imagine what it's like to lose an actual parent that's been there from the beginning, that's been there and supported you and been there for you, to just lose that out of the blue. It takes a toll on you. And that's why, I'm one of the few people that probably gives Kanye West a little bit of grace in some of the antics that he pulls, because people have said, Kanye has not been the same since his mother passed. And as much as people will, say like, oh my God, it's been so many years, like I lost a parent too, and you don't see me doing all this stuff. You can't compare and contrast this sort of thing. Like, I'm sorry, you can't. And it's not to say that his mother passing excuses some of the behavior that Kanye has displayed, but I can't sit up here and tell somebody how they should be acting over the passing of their loved one. I don't care how many years have gone by. That's just me. That's my unpopular opinion. I know there's going to be other people that disagree with me, but that's just how I feel. I feel like when it comes to grief, you cannot put a time limit on it, and you can't tell someone how to cope through it. And some people are better at coping than others. And I think, for Angus Cloud, it definitely took a toll on him because his family said so. My heart definitely goes out to him. I know he's passed, but my heart does go out to him, his family, and to just anybody dealing with grief or any type of major loss, whether you lost your job, whether you're going through a breakup. I think that kind of goes into the mental health aspect of it as well, which I can definitely speak to. I mean, I've shared plenty of times on this channel my struggles with mental health. And I don't think I've ever made a video on my specific mental health diagnoses. I might make a video about that in the future. But yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of mental health battles, both on and off camera. I've been very open and transparent about that. And I also know what it's like to not want to be here on this earth anymore. I mean, I've had my thoughts of, ending life, whether it was when I was in high school, after my breakup. I've definitely have shared those thoughts as well. Not on a frequent basis, but I've definitely been at some really low moments and points in my life, and it took a lot for me to get through it. And that's why, like, I really feel for people that get to that place and feel like they can't overcome it, because it does take a lot. It takes a lot of mental and emotional strength to push through, especially when you feel like there is nothing good on the other side, or when you've convinced yourself that it's not going to get better. It's really hard to keep yourself going, and it's literally a miracle that I'm still here today, and that I'm actually doing well, and that I'm in good spirits, because life has kicked my behind for a really long time. I mean, it's just been back to back to back L's, and it took a lot for me to get to a good place and to get to the place that I'm in now, because I've had some of the worst happen to me in not even just my life, but even in the past 2 years. These past 2 years has probably been the worst time period of my entire life. And so the fact that I've been able to make it to the other side and be happy is actually a blessing. But I also empathize with those that are having a harder time with that, and people who maybe didn't make it out of that struggle. And so yeah, all in all, again, like, I would just say to anybody that is dealing with grief or is going through a tough time, please find an outlet. I know people like to throw therapy at people, and I used to be one of those people that would immediately be like, oh, go to therapy. But I've actually been able to take a step back and kind of check myself on that, because there isn't a one size fits all to, dealing with anything. And for some people, therapy works, and for others, it just hasn't worked out that well. And so I would say, if therapy isn't a realistic option for you, I would just say find some type of outlet, right? Whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's writing, whether it's video games, find some type of outlet to where it can help you cope and release some of those emotions, because, you know, dealing with things on your own, you know, it's not the healthiest thing. And I know everyone isn't lucky enough to have a support system, but if you do have a support system, if you do have people that you know for a fact love and care for you, please lean on them for support. Let them know that you need support, and let them know how to support you. I feel like something that I've learned is that some people don't reach out, and some people don't go out of their way to, you know, check on you because they don't know how to. A lot of people, when they don't know how to reach out or how to support, they just don't, which I don't agree with either. I think you should at least try and make an effort, especially if you really care about the person, you think that they're, you know, going through some tough things. But there are people that are scared about reaching out if they don't know how, or they don't know, you know, what you need. And so I would definitely suggest that you reach out to the people that, you know, that you feel like you can trust, and let them know that you need support and how to best support you. But again, you know, condolences to Angus Cloud's family and to anyone else that it's impacted. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.